Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our meeting of Monday, March 7th. I have muted all of the lines. You, of course, always have the ability to unmute your own connection if you have a question. So today's guest speaker is Erin Shankie, our district governor for 2021-2022. And this will be her official district governor visit, or at least until she's able to easily cross the border and meet with us in person, which hopefully will still happen in her year as district governor. A little bit about Erin. She's spent most of her career working with nonprofits and education organizations. In 2014, she founded a company focused on creating leaders who embrace unique perspectives, set goals, and foster positive team culture. Her work involves diverse groups of individuals in both the nonprofit and for-profit sectors and concentrates on teams to provide organizational development as well as build leadership and communication skills. Erin's a lifelong learner and is currently working on her PhD in organizational leadership to go with her bachelor's degrees in dietetics and her master's degree in education instruction and graduate certificate in leadership in diversity management and sport. She has been trained in sports-based youth development and nonprofit leadership and facilitation. As I've mentioned, or the reason why she's here, she is currently the district governor for District 6330, and she is married to Dan and has one daughter, Emerson, who is usually present on a lot of Zoom calls, but we haven't seen her in a while, and I guess she's not feeling well today, so we're not going to get to see her, unfortunately. So I am going to pass control over to Erin for her presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Don. So I apologize if I am the one who has the background noise. Yes, Emerson is not feeling well today. So she's watching a movie in the other room, but my darling husband decided that recently that it would be really fun to get these giant speakers with like the subwoofer thing, and so it's like really booming in my house right now. And then he just told me the other day, he said, I got another one for this room where my office is. And I was like, so we can turn it off, right? I think he wants to just light up the whole house with sound. Me, I am like quiet. So that's very different part of my life right now. Yes, Emerson may pop in. I told her I was on a Rotary call and she knows she's allowed to come and pop in and say hi on those calls. So I'm so glad to be here with all of you today. I hope that you are not experiencing the weather we are. I just looked out the window as Don was talking and it's snowing, like really snowing now. So we're hunkered down today. So I hope all of you are staying warm. My mom went to Florida yesterday and texted me and said it's 85 and sunny. And I said, oh, that's nice. Emerson's lips were blue when I took her out of the tub tonight. So we're still in Michigan, still March. So as Don said, I am your district governor for this year. I see some familiar faces in this room, which is awesome. It's good to see all of you. I wish I could see you in person. Don also said, hopefully I can make it across the border. My plan, as you were all in your breakout rooms, I was telling him that the assistant governors in each area are hopefully going to set up for me an area visit where I can come and check out some of the projects that are going on and meet some of you. One of the strangest things about being on this district governor journey over the last few years is I haven't gotten to connect to people like I have in the past, even just at district events. The last time I was in person with a group was Niagara Falls. I was a district governor nominee. That would have been September of 19. So that was my last in-person thing. It's hard to believe. And that was actually, I was looking at that picture that you had put up, Don, of me. That was that same month. I got that picture taken for my PhD and I have no more bangs. And I'm like, I need a new picture. I don't even look like that anymore. So it's been a long time. It's been a crazy journey. I never thought being district governor that I would be very virtual. And I, of course, have to thank Tony for paving the way for us and ending his year virtually, and for David for just carrying us so wonderfully with impeccable leadership through last year. I'm hoping that my year we're getting to the light at the end of the tunnel and I'll get to come out and see all of you. But for now, here we are connected, which has its advantages, I will say. There are things that we have done in the past that I think we can probably keep the way we're doing. Like, some of these visits that are virtual. Emerson was sick, a different kind of sick last week. It's been a crazy couple of weeks here. Um, but just kind of not like sniffles, but other things. And I was supposed to go to Algonac, and I thought, I'm not going to take this to Algonac with me. That sounds like a terrible idea. And so we were able to do it virtually, which is great. So there are some things that are wonderful. We can stay connected even in the midst of whatever's going on. But I do miss the human connection and the human interaction. And as district governor, it's interesting and challenging because we have to change the way that we're thinking, right? The way that we're doing things as Rotarians. And it really calls for an evaluation of who we are and what we do, who we why we became Rotarians, what does service mean to us, those types of things. We have really great Rotarians, and I'm going to guess that your club has experienced this to some degree, that have always been really great Rotarians. And over the last couple of years, their priorities have changed or their situation has changed. And I really want to make the point to say that, we all are still Rotarians. And just because our situations are changing or evolving doesn't make us any less of a Rotarian. It just means that we need to somehow meet where we're at. And so one of my major priorities for the year, which you may have heard by now, is I want to remove barriers. This was something that came about when I was district governor nominee. It was right before Tony's year. So I wasn't district governor nominee yet. I was almost district governor nominee. And he mentioned about removing barriers, and it stuck with me. And I said that I'm going to do that. That's going to be what I want to push when I'm district governor, that, we are all Rotarians. And I've said this to my club before, and I've said it in a couple of other spaces. We're born Rotarians. We're born people who want to give back, who want to serve. I think it's just in who we are as people. And we are fortunate enough that all of us in the space have found a group that meets us right there and wants to do the same thing. And so, yes, baby. I took from college. Okay. Thank you. So how do we make sure that everybody can fulfill their passions and do what they want to do as Rotarians, even if our times are a little bit different? So is it a matter of changing the way that our membership fee structure looks, or is it coordinating transportation efforts? We're in a virtual meeting right now, so that doesn't really apply, but hybrid meetings. Are there people who really want to meet in person because they're feeling that lost connection? Are there others that are still not feeling safe, or US versus Ontario sides of the border? Are the restrictions different? And so that's just not possible. What are some of these ways that we can remove barriers to continuing to be a Rotarian in a group and not just a single Rotarian? That's one of my major things. And I would love to hear any success stories that all of you have as well, about that, especially as we move through the rest of the year. It's something that I think we can continue on, especially as we're starting to come out, hopefully, fingers crossed, of all of our COVID restrictions and are starting to gather in different spaces. What does that look like? The other piece that I'm really focused on, and you kind of heard it in my background, my day job is to do leadership and team training. So I'm a really big advocate of cultivating new leaders. And this goes a little bit along with removing barriers. How do we get some of these fantastic new leaders that we have, new to Rotary, or in positions where they can excel even greater? How do we cultivate them into leadership roles within our clubs, within the district, and even beyond, but really allow them to grow with Rotary? And the other kind of piece of that whole removing barriers, and we're in this new space, is that we really need to redefine what service looks like. And we at the district level are going to do that. If anybody's interested in sitting on a temporary committee with us, I would love to hear. I would love to have you join us so that we can get as much input as possible. But without being able to do some of the service projects that we historically have been able to do, or maybe there are new ideas or better ways we can do things, we as a district, and then you individually as clubs, should really redefine what providing service in our communities looks like, and how we can do the best job we possibly can as Rotarians and serve as much as possible. Those are kind of three things that really stick out for this year that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. And kind of going back along with my day job, I was preparing a presentation for a client. This was a couple months ago now, and it was about conscious leadership. And if you're unfamiliar with that term, it's a fairly new idea where it really takes away leadership from being an I-centered thing to more of a we-centered thing, where you're focused on all of the people in your team, all of the people around you. And as I was putting this presentation together and these 15 principles of being a conscious leader, I thought, this is a Rotary thing. This is completely, who we are as Rotarians. And so I put together the 12 principles of being a conscious Rotarian, and I want to share them with you. So the first one is learning through curiosity. I think we do a pretty decent job of this as Rotarians. And I encourage all of you to keep learning. As you heard in my bio, I have not stopped learning. I don't think that'll ever stop. I think I'm done with degrees after this, but I'm constantly wanting to learn more. And even if that's just in a conversation with somebody, just understanding the world outside of what I already know. And I would encourage all of you to do the same thing, especially about Rotary. I know we have a lot of Rotarians who don't really know what the foundation does or don't know the scope of our projects throughout the world. And there is just so much great information out there that you can just Google. I recommend Googling. There is a Rotary Learning Center, which is fantastic, has a bunch of great information. I encourage all of you to go through that, take a look at it. We as a district are also putting together a district-specific learning center. So while it's great that Rotary International has one, there are some things specific to our district or that don't necessarily apply to our district that we want to make sure we capitalize on and allow everybody the opportunity to continue to learn and grow and evolve our clubs. So continue learning, keep asking questions. That's number one. The second principle is to feel all the feelings. And again, I think we do a pretty good job of this. We're a pretty human interest centered organization. Go to YouTube, take a look at what's out there. There are some really awesome people of action or service above self videos out there that really truly show who we are as Rotarians. If you have a chance to attend a district event or go to the Rotary International Learning Center, we have some people in Rotary International who have really phenomenal stories of how Rotary has impacted their lives. I was fortunate enough that I got to do a GSE trip in 2011 and fall of 2011. And that was what made me want to give back to Rotary because I felt all of the feelings. I felt the welcomeness and the connectedness and all of that through that experience. And so to be able to learn more besides what I experienced of what Rotary does, well, here I am as your district governor. So it was obviously very impactful. The third one is to speak candidly. I know we've had a lot of discussion about this in groups in your communities at Rotary International about who we are as people and how we remain connected with each other and also respect each other. One of the priorities this year for our district is to provide information to all of our clubs, education and awareness materials about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a topic that is all around the world. And one of the things that I've found in our clubs is that those clubs that are willing to have open conversations are the ones that are making the most strides on that topic. It's a challenging thing to do, but speaking our truth is something that is only going to help us grow as clubs and as an organization and as people. Because again, going back to learning through curiosity, the more that we just let everybody know where we're at, how we're doing, what we don't understand, what we don't know, the more those open conversations can happen. The fourth one is eliminating gossip. We, as a human population, tend to get wrapped up in the details or things going on around us. And it ends up like a big giant game of telephone, unfortunately. And so going back to learning through curiosity and speaking candidly, we end up with misinformation. And that's not good. And that can stifle us as individuals and our clubs. So we want to eliminate gossip as much as possible. Always go to the source, always ask the questions you need to ask. The fifth one is practicing integrity. And I think this is us as Rotarians, right? The four-way test, all of this, how can we be better people? How can we have the integrity that we need to do the best we can do to each other, to our communities, to the world? I think this just encompasses who we are. The sixth one is to generate appreciation. And it's harder to do when we're virtual. I definitely know that. But to really embrace each other, the successes that we have, the wonderful things that our members are doing, ways that the community has been changed by what we do in Rotary, or helped, assisted. Just even the smallest bits of appreciation can go a long way, keep the morale up, keep us connected. It's something that I think we can always do a better job of. And so if you have those success stories, send them my way because I want to hear them. We want to appreciate every contribution that every member is making. The seventh one is excelling in your zone of genius. I love this one. We're all passionate about something, right? And the more we're passionate, the more buy-in we have on a topic, on a project, on whatever it is, a meeting, the more engaged we are. And that's when we excel in our zone of genius. I always talk about my daughter. She is one of those people, when she is good at something and enjoys it, it just seeps out of her pores. When she does something, you can see how proud of herself she is, and then she wants to do it more, and she's really excelling in her zone of genius. And so I encourage all of us to be like that, to do something, to provide suggestions in our clubs to each other, in our communities, about something you're passionate about, and then run with it. Just embrace it. It's only going to do more good in the world. The eighth one is living a life of play and rest. I don't know about some of you, but and I'm getting better now. I think we're starting to come out of it, but I am just zoomed out. When we first locked down in March of 2020, I literally, the day that we locked down, the week of, I had started working with a new client, and we were supposed to be meeting in person to kind of be training on, there were 17 of us consultants to be training on these modules they wanted us to run. And we went virtual, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. We were virtual, and it was exhausting. My husband was working from home. Emerson was home. We had no nanny. And it was just like the lines just blurred, right? There was no work and play, and it was just all one big thing. And so when we look at it from a Rotary perspective, I encourage all of you to make Rotary part of the play and rest of your life, right? Family of Rotary, let's engage ourselves and those important to us, and let's have fun while we're doing it, because this shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be something that's a burden. We want it to be something that helps you excel in your zone of genius. So really make that connection to make Rotary for yourself something that you enjoy and something that you consider play or rest. The ninth one is exploring the opposite. So I know we've all heard it. We get into, it might not be in Rotary, but maybe in work or something else, where you say, but that's the way we've always done it. Or you hear somebody else say, that's the way we've always done it. And I encourage you as Rotarians to always look at the opposite, explore the opposite. What would happen if? What would happen if we tried it a different way? What would happen if you shifted something or made a slight adjustment? Would it remove a barrier? Would it help in the community? Would it help our club? Would it help somebody individually? What would happen? And the worst case scenario is you can always go back to the way it was. But just to explore the opposite, explore alternatives, can make a huge difference. The 10th one is experiencing the world as an ally. And as Rotarians, I think we do this better than most people, most normal people, right? We see the good in the world. We see the connections we have as Rotarians to other people in the world. We have that opportunity to explore and experience this incredible network. And so continue to do that. Find ways where there's always positive in a world of sometimes dark things. Look at people as being allies to us, to help us globally, and in our communities as well. The 11th one is create win for all situations. And this is speaking to both you as an individual and to, popsicle time, and to your club as a whole. So how are there ways that you can be, there you go, you can be the catalyst for a solution in your community? How can you as an individual be a catalyst for a solution in your club? And what are those solutions? How do you make sure that you're building consensus, but you're also not alienating people who don't agree? How can you include everybody in that consensus? If anybody's interested in my consensus presentation, I'd be happy to share that one with you as well. But really try to be the catalyst for creating those win for all solutions. And the final 12th principle of being a conscious Rotarian is to be the resolution, to be the person that, I think about, I don't know if any of you have heard of buddy benches. They're a thing here on the US side of the border where there's a bench on the playground. And if somebody is feeling alone or sad, that they can sit on the bench and then somebody will come sit with them. It's kind of an anti-bullying tactic. And so I encourage you to be that person that goes and sits on the bench with the other person, right? Be the resolution, be the one who reaches out, be the one that puts a positive spin on something, be the one that really does change the world. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions or entertain any comments from anybody.
Erin and I had communicated back to set up this date, so thanks for doing that. Much appreciated. So my question is more of a current one. I know there is a Rotary Club in Kyiv, a small one, English speaking. Is District 6030 have any plans to assist Ukrainians in that city, particularly since there's a club there? I know it's a big question, but I just wanted to do something.
You're not the first one to ask. So
okay, underway. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so there is some, I actually just saw an email come through the other day. There is some information about donations that can be made to Ukraine. The other way that Rotary International is supporting is through Shelterbox. So if your club does any support to Shelterbox, that's a great way. My personal recommendation has been that if you are interested in doing something specific, to reach out to one of the neighboring countries that are taking in refugees. So Poland or, Romania, somewhere along the border. I am not sure, and I have not heard anything from anybody, Rotary International, or we haven't dove into that at the district level, as far as what the response would be from some of the Ukrainian clubs. I don't know who's left the country, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know who's attending to those things, which is why my recommendation would be to reach out to some of the bordering Rotary clubs. Does that answer your question? I can also send the information, the Shelterbox, and then the donation information. I can forward those emails on.
There is a Ukrainian center here in London, and I know that they're creating, getting packages and things they're sending over now. So I don't know if there's anything we could do here in London. Just a thought, since it's currently quite urgent.
During our announcement time, I will be talking about a few things Ukraine related that we may or may not want to do. So during your year this year, Erin, what new or innovative projects have you seen clubs do, or either fundraising or actually working in the community or internationally? What have been the highlights of what you've seen that really caught your attention?
It's been the small things for me this year. It's been, how clubs early on went hybrid, or how clubs changed their fundraiser to make it all outdoors so that they didn't have to worry about space. It's been those small things for me. And the ability for people to pull together and really do what's been best for their club. So I, in my professional life, I'm a really big one size does not fit all person. And so to see that really taking form and taking effect, and seeing each club kind of come out of where they were at a year ago has been really cool. Like, how do we engage youth more? I've seen that happen, or engaging families more, or making strides as a club that they couldn't have made if they weren't virtual. Just some of those small things I think have had the biggest impact for me.
I wonder if on a district level or even further, there is some sort of template for helping clubs find projects within their communities, a process that looks at the community and the needs in it and the ways that Rotary can be unique in the way that we respond. It seems here that we've been looking for a galvanizing project that would speak to the community about what Rotary is and what it does in making significant change in our community. Is there something on that district level that helps clubs find those projects?
There is not, but you pose a very interesting scenario, Jim, where, because I see it here in my area too. You know, I have clubs that get lost in other stuff, other projects, like if they're not a Rotary thing, but there are still needs that are not being met. It's almost a community assessment, or I'm gonna have to think about that. There is not something that exists, but you have my wheels turning now. I will have to follow up with you on that.
Or other questions? Erin, it wouldn't be a district governor visit without a presentation or someone talking about the district conference. Are you going to tell us about the district conference this year? I've heard
Yes.
rumors that there might be something fun happening.
Yes. So June 24th through 26th will be the district conference. I had to make a call at the end of January as to whether we were going to do in-person or virtual, and I chose virtual. I don't know how it was on the Ontario side of the border, but our numbers were insanely high at the end of January, and now they've just dropped. So the plan as of right now is it will be a completely virtual event, and it will be recorded. So if you can't attend, if you're going to be on vacation, I know it's, you know, the end of the summer, you can certainly log in the following week and watch some of the sessions that you're interested in. But with all of that being said, we are going to host it here in the Flint area. So if anybody is interested in coming here and attending some sessions, we're going to do some fellowship. There's going to be a pub crawl. There's going to probably be a golf outing on Sunday. The details of that haven't kind of been firmed up yet. But there will be more fellowship. So if you can't attend, you're not going to miss the sessions. But if you can come in person, there'll be the opportunity to reconnect. So that information is being, the materials are being finalized right now. And I'm hoping to have them out here within the next couple of weeks.
I wasn't wishful thinking when I thought there was going to be a pub crawl. Yay!
I mean, we got to make it fun, right? If we're going to be back in person, we got to do something.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions? I'm not seeing anyone with hands raised. On behalf of the club, Erin, and I'm not going to do a lot of explanation here because I think you know this, the Rotary Foundation, our Polio Plus campaign. But in recognition of your presentation today, a contribution has been made to the Polio Plus campaign to immunize 50 infants against polio. Because of you, Rotary is one step closer to a Rotary-free world. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Don. I appreciate being here.
Jan had her hand up there.
Oh, sorry, Jan. I'm still not seeing it. Go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, I had a question about the size of Rotary clubs that are mostly people who are older, like me. And do you have an example of any clubs who have a really good program for attracting younger business people?
You know, it depends on the club. It depends on the area. One of the things that I think you need to just assess is, so you're asking to bring in new members, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
But
the whole
it's hard when you're older to find younger people. I mean, you just don't have those connections that you do with your own age group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately, and I apologize, I'm not very familiar with your community. But my recommendation would be to invite businesses to attend something, right? Whether it's a service project or something, because just to say, or, inviting people as speakers. I know you're virtual right now and it's a little bit harder, but those are the ways that I would say you could, without having those relationships, are the maybe easiest to draw people in. If you're having a community event and you invite all of these community partners, you're more likely to get people, to where you're at. And then, as a club, you'll want to do some promo for yourself at whatever it is, and build those relationships there. Be like a networking event, right? That's one way. The other way, something you could do as a group, as a club, would be to have a conversation, just kind of a roundtable conversation at one of your meetings, about, what's the greatest thing about your club, right? Why did you become a Rotarian in this club? And what's the greatest thing about your club? And to use that information to create a method to go out and seek newer members. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
So a few announcements. The first announcement is, I think this is a continuation of last week's announcement. There will be a special board meeting this Wednesday, March 9th at 5 p.m., where the board will be reviewing the results of the membership survey, all the different items that we surveyed about, including when and how we meet, what days, what times, how often, how ready are we as members to start returning to in-person meetings, and then really what activities and what projects engage us as members of the club, as well as what activities and projects we feel would engage new members. So this is for the board, but as always with our board meetings, all members are invited to attend. The next announcement, I didn't see Jim Belton on the call yet, but so I will make the announcement. Oh, no, there's Jim. I'll let you do this announcement, Jim.
You're too kind, Don. It's the Burkhart Community Service Above Self Award, and it recognizes a member of our club who is primarily involved in an active community volunteer, which is a non-Rotarian activity. And he's also looking at one who is he may be, or she may be actively involved within the club. All current members of the club, which is the active members and the active satellite members, are eligible, except for previous recipients. You'll find our nomination form on our homepage. And with it, it also lists who the previous recipients are. If you could get your nomination to me before next Monday, I'd certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Another announcement is about the Rotary Learning and Information Leadership Institute. Part 2 training is happening starting next week, and then 1 week later on March 21st. Today is the deadline to register. I believe all the registration information is in the COG, or the link to the website is in the ECOG, as well as I believe on the District 6330 website. The other item, and it's just more of a reminder, is reserve the date for May the 6th for the Rotary Ranch. That is going to be our replacement for the East Coast Kitchen Party. Ticket details, more details will be coming out in a little bit over a week's time, but we just want to make sure you reserve the date. This goes for you too, Erin. You should be able to get across the border easily in May, so we'd love to see you at the Rotary Ranch. We promise not to make you ride any ranch animals, but you would be welcome to have a really good time with the London area Rotarians. And then I had one other quick question, and just let me see. We have had an offer. I'm not sure how many members of the club will remember Tatiana, whose last name is a Ukrainian last name that I think starts with HN, and I've always had problems pronouncing it, but Tatiana has attended a number of our club meetings in the past. She was an exchange student to the United States, and then part of Rotex at Fanshawe College. She has stayed in London, is working in London. She's been actively involved in the Satellite Club, attending a lot of their work events and fundraising events. They haven't convinced her to join yet, but they're working on that. But as a connection to the Ukraine and someone that is here in London, she has offered to do a presentation to our club to talk about the situation in the Ukraine from a actual Ukrainian perspective. Her family is still there. So it would be a very interesting presentation. We have our next few meetings filled, but she is willing to meet anytime basically with us. So I'm wondering, is there a interest in the club to do a special presentation and possibly conversation amongst members as to things that can be done with respect to the situation in the Ukraine as individuals, and or if people want to put a proposal forward to the club as to what action we should be taking, fundraising, whatever. So I'm going to ask the question, and for some reason it says Christmas on it, but it's more about doing a special presentation. There's a poll on the screen. Is there interest in a special presentation by Tatiana on the Ukraine and a discussion amongst the club as to what we can do or what we think we should do and how we can help out? So if you can just register your response in the poll, that'll help me decide as to, and I think timeliness is fairly important. So we would probably try to arrange this later this week or on the weekend, possibly next week. But it does look there is an overwhelming interest in a special presentation on the Ukraine. So
Don, you still have the promo up for the Rotary Ranch, and I just want to mention, Don, that we haven't got the details yet. They will be released soon, but I want all the members to start thinking about who we can approach and who they can maybe approach to arrange autumn auction items and that we are looking for items that are a value of at least $50. But even if there's an item it's under $50, we can always pair it up with another item and that to make a package for the auction. So members, start thinking about who you're going to approach to arrange an auction item. Thanks.
Can I just say something about Claire Lynch, who's part of the Shane Cook's troupe for the music? Claire Lynch recently moved to Canada. She's American and she's won many awards, and I think including a Grammy, or maybe more than one Grammy. She's a star in the bluegrass world. So that's going to be a super treat to have her as part of this event.
Just a few reminders. Our meeting next week will be either Paul Mills, who is a local musician and record producer, or a special presentation on the Ukraine, or possibly both. We will let you know exactly what is going on. The Satellite Club meeting, their next meeting is March the 15th, and it will be a working meeting as they are getting closer to the Seminar for Tomorrow's Leaders, the RILA event in May. So they'll be using that as a working meeting. We have a board meeting this Wednesday at 5 p.m., as well as the cocktail hour tomorrow night at 5 p.m. and the coffee clutch on Thursday at 10:30. And that is it for our meeting today. A reminder to everyone that we serve to change lives. Thank you very much, and we will see you again either later this week or next Monday.